businesses need to tell a story about who they are, what's their core. Money is important, but money is fleeting. I believe my philosophy is you can't take bad money because it's fleeting. So you have to try to earn your money, and then things become prosperous.
Welcome to the Realty FC podcast, where we educate and give different perspectives on the local real estate trends from business owners, professionals, and others as we navigate the ever-changing world of real estate. And I'm your host, Chris, joined by the lovely Michelle here, as we dive into the twists and turns of the complex real estate world. Welcome to the show, Michelle.
Well, thanks, Chris.
Hey, it's springtime. We had a little taste of warm weather here, and I'm loving it. I was out all day. I got a little red. I don't know if you could tell or not. Hopefully not. But what happens in Winchester around springtime? What's the big event that happens here in Winchester? Do you know?
Oh, I do.
What is it?
It would be the Apple Blossom.
It is the Apple Blossom Festival. Okay, so my favorite part of the Apple Blossom Festival is that everything shuts down. All the kids are home. We get to go out and have a good time. But the event we really like to go to, I should say the kids really like to go to, is the carnival.
Okay.
Yeah, they like going to the carnival and riding all the rides and so forth. And the parade. I mean, who doesn't love the parade? I mean, they'll throw candy out, which the kids love.
Yeah.
And I end up usually eating, but other than that,
and my kids used to be in the parade. They were in the band. Musclemen.
Yeah. And you know what's amazing is how big of an event this is. I don't think people can really wrap their heads around like how big this event is. People from all over the country to do this. Because I know Realty FC used to sponsor one of the events. It was the Bloomers Luncheon. We used to set up a table there, and people would come through all the time and just talking to them and just find out where they're from. It's just amazing. All the people that come out. Well, and then so you wonder, well, how does Apple Blossom come about? Like how does someone get all these people from all over the country to little old Winchester?
Right.
Well, there's a lot of people that actually have a hand in that, but one of the guys, in my mind, is one of the main guys, has a hand in that. And we're going to have him on a show today.
Oh, great. So we can find out more.
Yeah, so there's a lot of questions that I have for him. I'm sure you do too. And there's probably a lot of insight that we don't know about that goes on behind the scenes in Apple Blossom. So let's bring him on.
All right, sounds good.
Okay, welcome to the show. We have Dario Savarese, the myth, the man, the legend of Apple Blossom in my mind. I don't know any others.
Listen, all in my mind equally as well. You got to keep everything. You got to keep humorous and proper perspective.
There you go.
Doubt.
Okay, well, good. When I think of Apple Blossom, I definitely think of you. So I don't know if that means anything to you.
No, that's great. I appreciate the opportunity of being involved with the festival for close to 30 years now.
Yeah. Okay.
Oh, wow.
Well, before we dive into some of the questions because we're going to have lots of questions about Apple Blossom. Let's talk a little bit about yourself. I mean, your family, where you may have grown up. What your job role. Talk about that for us.
Sure. No. Let's see. The Winchester 2-minute version is born and raised in Washington, D.C.
Okay.
Went to a small private school, Bullis, for high school. Went to James Madison University.
Right. Played football there.
Got an opportunity to play down there. I always give props to my buddy. I played at Bullis with Pat, his brother, Tom McGloon, played at JMU, and said, hey, you got to go check out this big stiff up there, Coach Prince. And he came up and visited and gave me an opportunity to play down there and earn a scholarship, and played for 5 years. Met my lovely bride, Cindy Stroh-Snyder, and now Savarese, originally from Winchester. So, went to school there, went back to D.C. for a little bit, got involved in sales, telecommunications company, got involved here locally through some friends, working with Russ Potts Sports Production. That's how I got involved I took the sales skills and paralleled that with the event production and the sports events that he was hosting. And in '94, some things altered in the business, and I had to seek a new opportunity. So at that point, I said, hey, I can go sell. I know I can sell, and I don't mind being a salesperson as long as it's something I'm feeling good and passionate and have integrity with. And at that time, we had Dario in 90, Madison in 92, Mel in 93. So in the spring of 94, it was like, okay, here's a new beginning. And so I just started making some phone calls. I'll always tell people to pick up the damn phone and call people.
Yeah. We get that a lot in real estate too.
Yeah,
a lot of text messages.
Yeah, no, go call somebody, go meet with them face to face, eyeball to eyeball, and try to learn about what's important to them so that you can figure out. So anyway, I got a couple opportunities. Worked with Robert J. Gagan, God rest his soul, with Sports America, who created the McDonald's All-American Game, with the Quarterback Club of Washington and the National Quarterback Club. So I was hosting events, sponsorships, and then I went over and visited with a couple of folks at Apple Blossom, and they had just let, I guess, their program salesperson go, and Wayne Kohler, Buddy Dunlap, God rest his soul, and Jack Cronenberger, another person who's since passed, they said, okay, let's try this. And
what year was that, roughly? Do you remember?
That was, there are some things I remember very well, Chris. But no, those things are impactful. The fall of 94.
Okay.
Met with Jim Robinson, who had just finished up his tenure as festival president. He said, hey, go talk to these guys. So I did, and Wayne signed the agreement, and they were stuck with me. And I've been working with the festival ever since, and it's been great for, my small business, and it's been great for them because I feel they definitely have somebody who's passionate about, the festival and see the major impact that it has economically, charitably. There are just so many facets to it.
Yeah.
Then in between, I've done many other different things as well.
Yeah, so that kind of leads me into my next thing. I know we're talking about Apple Blossom a lot here, but you also do a lot of other events, for the town and for the city. So talk a little bit about those. You don't have to get into detail, but what are some of the other events that you? You're
going to have to keep corral on me and
okay,
point
yeah, all right. I'll reel you back in if you get too far out there.
Yeah, no. Like I said the other night, Thursday evening, I was talking at a festival event at the Village at Orchard Ridge, and I said, there's not a mic I don't like.
Yeah.
And so anyway, no, right now my sole focus, 100% of my efforts have been on the Shenandoah Apple Blossom Festival. But through the years, I've had different projects in terms of advertising and marketing and media campaigns. And so I've worked with Winchester Imaging and Winchester Radiology and helped that doctor's office out. I worked with Rock Harbor Golf Course and helping them build their website as well as their marketing campaign. And a couple of years here, a couple of years there. Then the city had an RFP in rejuvenating Old Town Winchester after they had done the renovation. And Jim Deskins was the EDA director, great guy, smart guy, and recognized just because you build it doesn't mean that they're going to come. You have to create and stimulate energy down there. So we worked for about 8 years with the city of Winchester and Old Town Winchester and hosted a variety of different events. Worked with Chantel and Sprint, so just different things through the years. But the Quarterback Club was a big piece for about 15, 16 years. And then paralleling that with Apple Blossom, worked with the Topper Virginia Building Association as their executive officer for about 3.5 years. So things come and go.
So you're pretty well connected. It's probably what easily you could say. I mean, do you also do stuff with? I think it's called like the Hop Blossom in the city. Do you do some marketing for them as well?
No, the Hop Blossom. Mark Bates and his wife, I'm forgetting her name, but that's a separate event. So the events in Old Town Winchester, they help stimulate, and actually they had already had that thing going or paralleling at the same time the RFP that the city wanted to do.
I see.
So no, they host that. It's a great event in Old Town. It's still going on, and the city of Winchester now is working with the Main Street Foundation. They're developing that. They're, matter of fact, recruiting for a executive director. So maybe that person might be creating the events. My contract ended in the December, I think it was 2021.
Okay.
And so since then, they've been kind of doing some different things down there. But yeah, connected is all relative to our minds. Here in Winchester, Kevin Bacon says what, Chris?
Right.
What does he say?
6 degrees of Kevin Bacon.
Yeah, something of that nature. There's 6 degree separation, in the entire world, maybe. I'll say here in Winchester, there's maybe 1 degree separation. So I think we all know everybody. I mean, you could walk down, Michelle could walk down Old Town Winchester and say hi to 3 or 4 people.
Yeah.
And you could have friends in from out of town. They say, oh, Michelle, you're the mayor of Old Town Winchester. And so, yes, the festival and other things that I've done has allowed me to engage with a lot of different businesses. And I'm very thankful for all of those relationships. Yeah,
I guess when I say connected, probably not just to Winchester, but you meet a lot of famous people, right? A lot of athletes that's what I pay attention to mostly. You meet a lot of cool athletes, right?
Yeah, no, when we were working, when I was working with Russ in sports production, we were hosting 15 to 18 NBA preseason games in the month of October.
Okay.
And then we were going out. You'd have to go out to all these cities to scout the city. So think of an NBA preseason game as a concert of a major star, but going to a secondary market that the teams don't play in. Mm-hmm. So that's what it was, that's what it was like. And so, yeah, it was great. It was very interesting. I hosted, a couple of preseason games on my own. With the quarterback club, we're working with all types of collegiate, high school, and professional athletes, and working with the Washington Redskins at that time.
Right.
Former name. Got to meet a lot of the former players and some really cool legends, in the game. And so that I stopped in about 2010, and so some of my relationships with some of those folks have waned some, and some of them have passed on. God bless Charlie Taylor, Pat Fisher. Some legends with the teams. The whole sports industry totally changes, is totally changed now.
Yeah. No, I think it's really cool, too, that Apple Blossom takes advantage of some of I shouldn't say take advantage, but they also work with a lot of the local athletes, the celebrities in this area, which I think is really neat because people can connect. Right, folks locally can connect to those athletes.
Well, in your business, what's core to your business, Michelle?
Core to my business.
Yeah, what's
I
core
didn't know I was going to be in the hot seat.
Yeah, you're in the hot seat. I'm asking the questions here. I take right over.
Well, we can switch gears about real estate. Yeah. So, could you offer any tips, for to real estate folks like us to help promote their brand and their business?
So I want to ask Michelle, what's core to her business?
Core to my business is the community.
That's good. That's a good answer. There's no wrong answer.
So our motto is it's not just a transaction; it's a relationship. We really want to connect with.
Yeah.
Well, and that was the word I was looking for because you were talking about relationships. Yep. I think in our community, relationships matter, and I think in our community, one of my many taglines that may be on my tombstone if I can get it built. Would be, it still matters to be involved in our community. So, we're a growing community. There's probably thousands of homes slated for, a 20-mile radius to Winchester.
Yeah.
And I'm talking thousands.
Yeah,
and
we're going to need another high school.
We're going to need another high school. We're going to need, really, it's road improvements and a high school. Without a doubt, but road improvements are going to be pivotal because you can already see what's happening on Route 7 and 7 and 50 coming back into Winchester, and so that's another thing. But the core piece that I was kind of needling you with, Michelle, was relationships really are important, and so trying to conduct business in a very ethical manner in our community, I think is really important. And, trying to follow through, which is not easy on Apple Blossom sometimes because there's so many people and not having mistakes or things that, you're going to closing. Oh, shoot, I forgot, this document. You're like, you're just kicking yourself. So,
yeah. No, I'm glad you brought that up. We know Apple Blossom is coming up. Want to give me the dates on Apple Blossom real quick?
Apple Blossom officially starts Actually, we've already had a number of different events, but April 20th, we have the Cape and Valley Bank cider tasting and orchard tour. That's going to be down at our health campus. That's the first weekend. They're actually going to host the tastings on the campus there at our health, and then they're going to have a shuttle bus and take you out to some orchards and give you some little tours. And then we start the full-blown 10-day, 10 straight days is the April 26th through May the 5th. That kicks off with the United Bank Bloom and Wine Fest in Old Town and this beautiful brochure that Quad Graphics helped me out with.
Can someone pick one of these up somewhere?
You should be able to. First of all, we're delivering probably about 240,000 in newspapers. Which is, we can talk about marketing, advertising, and what elements and mediums are important. But and then we're delivering this to about 100 different businesses and establishments, the handy marts and the sheets and different places. And our sponsors, we try to drop them off at different businesses. So this has all 50 different events and the calendar of events, and so all the different activities. But I would be remiss to not share that in the past couple of years, we've added 12 new events.
Okay.
So a lot of people who are here in Winchester really don't even know, because they think of the festival as just the Grain Feature Parade weekend.
Sure.
So, if I can remember these, not in any specific order, but the Fiesta Latina event is going to be over at the Sportsplex.
Okay.
May 1st is the Navy Federal Credit Union Veterans Dinner. Fantastic show. American Bombshells in from New York did a beautiful show. We have a breakfast with Miss Apple Blossom over at West Oaks. We have a breakfast walk, pickleball tournament, the Contemporary Christian concert, which is basically sold out, 3,500 seats, 3,400 seats, give or take a few. Toby Mac. I mean, we've added a wide array of different events.
Are you in the pickleball tournament?
I'm not in the pickleball, but I do love some pickleball. Definitely.
Yeah, it's a new trend.
It's I don't know if I don't think it's a fad, because actually it's been around for a long time.
Has it?
Yes, longer. You do a little Google history on it. Goes back to, I think it was about the 70s, mid-70s, which blew my mind.
Oh, yeah. I never heard of it until probably about 2 years ago. So.
But keep going, sir. I can meander on for ages.
Yeah, no. So, I mean, you kind of talked about it already, about different marketing mediums. So I think that's important when we talk about that 240,000 of these are going on print material. But what other mediums that you recommend for, not just for Apple Blossom, but let's be maybe more for the listeners out there? Like, what seems to grab everyone's attention from the Apple Blossom perspective? I mean, is it social media now, or is it is it still print material? What's grabbing?
It's everything.
It's everything. I mean, so you can't just do one.
No, it's probably 15 years ago, 20 years ago, they would say, an advertising person from a radio station or a newspaper would say, you're doing the shotgun effect. That doesn't work. Well, definitely today's world, it is the shotgun effect. But at the same time, as a business, you have to realize who you're trying to target, what's the demographic. Yeah. So then you might specifically start to look at different mediums. And then, can you track? Are you going to be able to track, the leads?
Yeah.
And so everybody wants, to have this tangible content or this tangible return, which is, which I don't totally agree with. You have to build your brand. I mean, FC Realty is and I got that without actually looking at the FC.
It's Realty FC.
Realty FC. See, I was thinking FC Realty, but the fact that I know, but I went Realty, then it was FC, but. Either way, you're still remembered. But you have to build a brand equally as well, and you're not always going to be able to measure your results. Okay, we're going to do digital media, and we're hitting 600,000 impressions, and how many people click through, and what is a good click-through rate? Then how many pages did they look at? Blah 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 blah.
Yeah, you could spend. It's like a full-time job.
social media is a full-time job.
Yeah.
So it's interesting. There are a lot of different, mediums out there, and you have to I try to understand what the sponsor's looking for, then align them with a specific event that makes sense for them.
I think that's good information. I think, we try to do the same thing here where we try to measure our results. And for me, it might kind of contradict what you're saying, but, when we see something, it might be because of for budget purposes.
Yeah.
Like if you do 5 different marketing channels and you see 3 are working very well, I would probably argue, well, let's start putting some more money into those 3 and kind of back off on the 2 that aren't working very well. Because then you probably would agree that print material has just kind of gone almost not entirely away, but it's definitely minimized over the years for real estate. You don't see much in the newspaper.
Yeah, you're not insulting me by saying that print is. I mean, I've worked with all these newspapers literally for almost 30 years here.
Yeah.
And I've seen the numbers dramatically change from newspaper print is what I'm referring to.
Yeah.
And so there's no question, but they do have a segment and a demographic that if you are, trying to target traditional demographic, that's there.
Yep. I think arguably in this area, there's probably still a pretty big segment for that.
It's a decent segment, but it is changing. I would like to actually figure out how I can take this and maybe edit the back of it and do it. I would like to try to do a direct mail with this piece to homes within the region. And then, yes, we can scale those homes from middle income to whatever. But the festival has something for everybody. Yeah. So it's got for folks who, don't attend events, you can go hit the carnival or the Midway. I mean, we've got a lot of free events equally as well.
Yeah, so with that said, there's something for everybody at Apple Blossom. Well, what's Dario's favorite event at the Apple Blossom? Are you allowed to answer that question?
Yeah, no, I mean, geez, I would say I'm really, on one hand, not most favorite event, but maybe most proud of the Valley Health Business at the Bloom Luncheon on Wednesday, May 1st.
All right.
I remember being involved in early on in some meetings and the creation of that event with some other folks. And I thought that was, a great event to engage with businesses, create a motivational, have some kind of inspirational speaker. And that event has grown from 300 to this year, I believe it's close to sold out, if not sold out. So if you haven't gotten your tickets to the business luncheon, you better get them. But there'll be over 800 business people there. The single largest event, from my perspective, that I'm aware of that is, bringing all the business people together, exhibitors and things of that nature. And so I'm most proud about that event because I think it brings, again, another wide, diverse series of events to the festival. And then we have a great speaker this year, Stephanie Stuckey, who I'm hoping she is as good as when I heard her down at the Virginia Tourism Conference a couple of years ago, telling her story about how she's rebuilding the Stuckey brand, which Chris's eyes are darting across, and he's like, have no clue.
Yeah, I don't.
See, you're too young. You're still, 36, 38?
Yeah, exactly. Yep.
Yes. Stuckey's brand, they were the handy marts in the entire East Coast, definitely in the Southeast, and they were famous for the Stuckey's pecan roll.
I remember it very well. We used to stop at Stuckey's on family vacation all the time.
At 1 and 2 years old, you could remember that.
I was a bit older than that, but she's an incredible lady and bought the brand back from some conglomerates and rebuilding the confectionery side and that Stuckey's pecan roll, and it's neat, and it's talking about. She's going to talk about, I believe, what I learned from her before was telling a story. So Realty FC has to tell a story.
Yeah.
Businesses need to tell a story about who they are, what's their core. Money is important, but money is fleeting. So that you can't, I believe my philosophy is you can't take bad money because it's fleeting. So you have to try to earn your money, and then things become prosperous. And so telling the story about your business And I think Winchester has told a great story about, our community from George Washington, the Revolutionary War, the French and Indian War, the Civil War, Patsy Cline. And then, the other notable thing for Winchester is in this year, the Shenandoah Apple Blossom Festival's 100th anniversary.
Oh.
So 1924 to 2024 is the first year that they started this, and there's a neat story about that. And, we could have lost this event to Harrisonburg, Virginia.
Really?
Yeah.
Okay. Well, that would definitely be interesting. And I see you have a kids marshal, Snoopy.
So Sharon Gromling, festival president, been involved with the festival for about 42 years, finishing up her last year.
I don't know how you reach out to Snoopy.
Well, I was calling last year down there, then Kay called this year and got a hold, and their whole business has gone through an evolution here in the past few years, as a lot of people have. But Sharon Gromling's goal as festival president, each one has kind of a mission to themselves. Her thing was locally grown, globally shared.
Okay.
So she wanted to try to have fun with the families and try to recognize as many local people to accomplishments equally as well, beyond celebrities, quote unquote celebrities, throughout the country. And so last year we had Nazi, who was first local Millbrook, NFL player to win a Super Bowl. And prior to that, we had Kelly Williams. Kelly Washington, excuse me.
It's okay.
Kelly, he was with the Cincinnati Bengals, but, here this guy won a Super Bowl and made it on the team and was actually on the field during the Super Bowl. So that was kind of neat. So her whole mission was trying to engage, and she wanted to have some fun. She also brought in the honorary Grand Marshal last year with Kathy and Nick Narangis, great people, local community, and then, of course, Barry as well. So it's interesting, and that's kind of her mission. And then next year is Jeremy Luttrell for 2 years.
Very good. Very good.
1 second. Dario, can I have you fix your headphones a little bit, just making your hair stick up in the back a little bit?
At least you still have hair back there.
Like that. There you go. And then adjust them as needed. There you go. Yeah.
I don't mind.
You need to make
If my hair is if my hair.
Yeah. Oh no, that. No. You were good the other way. There you go. Yep. Right down there. Okay. Yeah. All right. Good.
Are we still taping now? Don't edit this part out, please. I mean, if you edit this part out, I'm gonna be pissed off.
Yeah. You're good. All right.
No. Thank you very much. I appreciate it. I'm big 6'7" tall goofball, and don't mind that my hair is sticking up, and I think humility is very important in life, and laughter is even more important to the soul, and so trying to, like we said earlier, keeping things in perspective.
Yeah, absolutely. I agree with you. So try to keep it to maybe one or two stories, but do you have any interesting behind-the-scenes Apple Blossom stories, or maybe any other events that you can think of that you want to bring up, might have a little humor to them, or just something that would surprise anybody, or maybe you don't have any stories at all, and that's fine too. Maybe everything just goes perfect in Dario's world, and don't make mistakes like the rest of us.
Trust me, there have been plenty of people who've wanted to drag me through the streets behind a fire truck. Probably.
No, I don't believe that.
We definitely make mistakes. I always wish I was a great storyteller.
I feel like you are.
Absolutely. This is different. I don't have any great, funny stories to the festival. I mean, the festival is funny in it of itself. Yeah. But some other people would probably recount some different, stories. My story is really, I always think about is how I got involved with the festival, the folks who kind of knew things I didn't know about Apple Blossom. When I was, starting my business, I was trying to go out and approach people and as a contracted employee instead of bringing them in. And so that was a little bit foreign. And so some folks who, kind of positioned me and got me on board with the festival, unbeknownst to me till years later. And then I learned, oh, this is why they did what they did, and now I'm accepted, or have not accepted, but let's just say proving myself to being a valuable asset to the festival. Because back, in '94, sponsorships, corporate sponsorship sales were really just starting to come along. And so, to hire somebody to focus on that, as well as, it's not just corporate sponsorships. I handle the majority of the media marketing, the print campaign, the TV show that we produce, the radio commercials. We have a social media committee who works on that, but digital ads, there are so many other facets to what we're talking about that it's a challenge to, really market it. So it's interesting, but no great humorous stories, but we've had some legendary celebrities, and that's been fantastic. And it's amazing what our small community has been able to continue to grow with an event of this nature. Economically, $10 million plus. There's tons of charities that benefit from this. A lot of businesses want to get involved and see it as, I do have a story now, see it as a community engagement.
I knew we'd get there.
Yeah. It just dawned on me because I thought about a great friend to myself, but to the community, Jim Stutzman Chevrolet. I used to have businesses call me and say, hey, I want to get involved with the Apple Blossom, and I want to be known as a community partner like Jim Stutzman. So one year during the festival, his relationships allowed us to engage with the Chevy, Washington Area Chevy Dealers Association. He was able to get them to invest some money out here because he's on the outskirts. He was, he gave him a hard time and said, hey, look, how about spending a couple of bucks out here? So they became the title sponsor to the Grand Feature Parade. So we were putting down a decal, about an 8 by 10 foot decal in the center of the street for TV production. And so we're rolling out the decal that Saturday morning, rolling it out, and we're laying the pieces together. And Todd Thompson's down there, God rest his soul, with Impressions Plus. Jim's down there, and we roll this thing out, and Shenandoah, I forget what was misspelled, but Washington Area Chevy Dealers, maybe that was misspelled.
Oh, man.
And I'm looking at this thing, and I'm like, Todd's like, this is misspelled, and Jim's over there, he's like, oh my God, this is going to be so embarrassing.
Yeah.
So I'm looking at this thing, and I stand it up, and I'm literally scratching my face, and I'm thinking to myself, okay, we got a couple of hours. I sit and thinking to myself, don't panic.
Yeah.
That was, I said this to somebody the other day, in the firefight, Marines do not panic.
Yeah.
They stay steady. So, and I generally, for the most part, in that way. So first thing I'm doing is I'm toolboxing it. I'm like, okay, what can we do to fix this? So they're standing, people are laughing up in the stands, and Kim's up there, Stutzman, and so they finally uncovered that they misspelled it in production the first time, but they said, let's keep it, let's roll it out, let's pretend we're putting it down and have Dario get, poop his pants. So, I'm literally, it was like, okay, it's okay, we can figure this out. Todd, let's go back to the place. We can print out another piece and just fix this. And then somebody was like, oh, we can just use a black marker. I'm like, what?
Yeah. No, that's good that they didn't rattle you. That's what they were trying to. They were trying to get you rattled.
From my perspective, I don't think I got rattled because it's just, you have to think about it. And sometimes, dumb things happen.
Yeah.
And
that's good though.
It was that. There's my one of my funny stories, I guess.
Oh man, that was good. Thanks for sharing that. So switching gears a little bit, I know we talked about some marketing, and let's talk about one of the trends that's happening today, and that's artificial intelligence. Are you seeing that play a role in anything that you're doing, from marketing, with your company, or even into Apple Blossom? Have you seen any that come into play? Not yet?
Not totally yet, but being at the Virginia Tourism Conference, which I go every year, the Virginia's for Lovers campaign.
Yeah.
They are a partner to the Apple Blossom Festival. They help us with tourism. They were talking about ChatGPT last year in the fall a lot. And so They're talking about how it's can take over certain different positions and things. I do know that we took maybe one of the stories we were working on and somebody ran it through the Chat GPT to re-edit it. It's coming. I have some questions about,
Sure.
artificial intelligence like everybody does.
Yeah, it's all new to us.
Yeah, and so everything can be either used in a positive manner or it can be used in a negative manner. And it's what we decide as humans how to use whatever it is. And so these mobile devices that we have that are basically computers that dwarf what was on the first Apollo mission is amazing. And so those are incredible tools. And it's just, how do we choose? Do we have the wherewithal and the fortitude or the convictions or integrity to use things in a proper manner? AI, though, is something that can be developed and work on its own. So I have some serious hesitations to
Sure.
AI, that's a whole nother ball game.
Yeah, it's creeping into the real estate world as well. And I mean,
How is it affecting Realty FC?
Yeah, so you're doing a lot of marketing, advertising, which artificial intelligence generated ads, and I guess probably also when it comes to how Facebook or social media retarget stuff. I'm sure artificial intelligence is being utilized there as well. But writing descriptions about properties, going to artificial intelligence, Chat GPT, and saying, hey, write me a about particular property, and it comes up with some language you can add into that for sure. So.
Is it simplifying it for you?
I mean, personally, I'm still more hands-on.
Yeah. You really have to review it because you have to make sure that the information that's shooting back to you is accurate. So
yeah, and so there's probably better people out there to be able to answer that question that probably use AI, probably a lot younger than I am. I'm just not using it very much right now, but I'm sure it's just like you're saying, it's coming. To what extent, I'm not sure. So we'll just have to see. I mean, just like we just recently had the National Association of Realtors lawsuit kind of go through, we're kind of all, molding through that as well. Which
was, give me the cliff notes.
Well, so it has been agreed to, but it still has to go to the judge to give the final stamp approval. But there's probably a whole nother podcast episode, so I'll try to do a scratch the surface because we are all still trying to learn.
Is this the 6% thing?
Well, no, there's no standard commission rate. It's always negotiable. That's one of the key components here. Is it's not just there's not like a 6%, 5%, but it's now the buyer side commission. So normally, a seller goes and hires a listing agent to sell their home, and a lot of times a buyer agent is bringing a buyer. So two different parties.
Right.
So normally the seller will, or in most cases, the seller was paying a commission rate. And half of it would go to the buyer agent, or a part of it would go to the buyer agent, and the rest of it would go to the listing agent company. Well, now that's no longer publicly displayed. So a seller technically doesn't have to offer a buyer agency compensation. They don't have to offer a cooperative broker compensation. And now it could be borne by the buyer, in addition to all their costs as well. I mean, there's a lot of problems in that. I mean, it's good and it's bad. And I mean, I won't dive into a whole lot of it, but, as buyer's agents, it's going to behoove us to have a buyer agency agreement in place to say, hey, if a seller's not willing to pay a certain percentage in cooperating brokerage, then, you as a buyer agent, or as a buyer, you're agreeing to pay to be represented, right? And, if we're having to negotiate it with the seller, right? And in addition to that, we may just right up front and say, okay, look, if the buyer can't afford that commission, then we may say, all right, well, we're only going to show you homes, that the seller's offering like a percentage of cooperating brokership. So a seller, it might be more important to them to reach more buyers by offering a cooperating broker because we may not show that home if they're not. So it's kind of that. It's a lot of gray area in there, and it's still coming down the pike, and it's not in effect yet.
And that'll also depend on whether it's a buyer's market or a seller's market. And that's a whole nother ball game.
Yeah, it brings in a whole nother caveat to the negotiating table.
Yeah.
So anyway, we won't. I'm sure that will stir up a lot of the listeners if they listen, get down this far into the podcast.
And what do you mean? Are you telling me that they're not going to watch the entire podcast here? I mean, holy smokes! What is America thinking?
I know. Yeah, it's one of the medias. I guess we got to do a lot more marketing channels to get our podcast out there. Okay, we'll try to wrap this up here. Is there anything else that you want to mention to listeners out there about what your company has to offer? And it's Full Circle Marketing.
Full Circle Marketing is our company.
Yep.
I've been in business since '94. Very thankful for all the opportunities in working with different businesses here locally, and we have just I say nickeled and dimed our way along the line of just
we all have at some point.
Yeah, just being content with a couple of different contracts and opportunities, and never been focused on being that gazillionaire, and so just happy to do business. And so the festival, I invite everybody to visit thebloom.com, take a look at all the events. Think about the events as an opportunity to reward your employees at your business, entertain your clients, engage in branding opportunities. And if you're not going to get involved with Apple Blossom, look at other community events that are going on out here. Kiwanis Pancake Day, Apple Harvest, the flags, Healing Flags of Honor that is done by the Rotary up on the Hanley campus. So they're great opportunities, and it still matters to be involved in the community. And I appreciate, Realty FC being involved and looking at those Apple Blossom plaques from a few years ago, and know that you'll be getting a call next year to re-engage again. But I know you're building the business. Sometimes you have to really focus, as we talked about, on where you're going to spend some dollars.
Yeah. Yeah. So why don't you tell us what your website is for Full Circle Marketing if someone wants to reach out to you for questions?
My website. I don't mention it too
That's okay.
often.
That's fine.
It's fullcirclem.com.
Okay. I mean, well, if that's not right, we'll make sure we post it.
That's fine. Fullcirclem.com. Right now I'm happy and content with working with just the festival, and it's been a good opportunity.
Yeah. Well, I think Michelle would agree. Happiness is definitely important.
Mm-hmm. Yes.
Okay. Definitely. Great. Well, Dario, hey, thanks for coming to the show. I really appreciate being here.
Yes. Thank you.
Appreciate the opportunity. Send me a link to this so I can share it with a couple of people that I did a little bit of name dropping. I have to let you know that I took it easy on you and only name dropped some of our sponsors, and I could have name dropped almost 185 people.
Oh, wow.
Yeah, no, I appreciate that, but you certainly can share it with all of them.
Yes.
Okay, well, thanks for tuning into the Realty FC podcast. The key to success is knowledge. So please like, share, subscribe, and catch you on the next episode of the Realty FC podcast. Thanks for coming out.
Thank you.